Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Good morning and welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm April Martinez.
And I am Isana Cayetano.
And good morning to you, Belize. Thank you so much for joining us on this lovely Monday morning. Good morning, Isani.
Muy buenos dias.
Muy buenos dias. I can't say it in other languages. Good binafi.
That's the other yes. Language. Guten Morgen.
Guten Morgen. Yes, yes. But I can't say it in Mandarin, which I wish I knew how. But nonetheless, it's a beautiful morning.
Yeah.
Great weather. It's Easter weather. The time is slowly creeping up.
It's here.
It's here
Look,
already.
It's the first day of Easter vacation for students, right?
Yeah.
And over the course of the past few days, you see people moving around. I don't know if you got a chance to be out this weekend.
Yes.
Well, I wasn't on Saturday for obvious reasons, but yesterday, you know, people are off to the islands. People are already in that, you know, spirit and that mood. And travel is always on the agenda around this time of year.
It seems that people are already into the spirit of vacation, yes, because kids are out already. But there were a few items that I was able to document this weekend, one being a beautiful drumming performance that took place in Belmopan. And I can't pronounce the name, Josh. I won't botch it. I'm sorry, but it was done by the legendary Josh Arana, drummer.
Yes.
And it was incorporated with dance and culture. It was very, very festive, and that took place on Saturday. And then Sunday, of course, Sunday is the beginning of what in the Catholic Church is known as Semana Santa, Palm Sunday. And so,
Holy
of course, that is the beginning of Holy Week, and it's you know, I don't know what it is like here in Belize City, but in certain parts of the country, Belmopan including one of them, Benke, Orange Walk, you have, you know, persons having the mass, the reenactment of Jesus coming into Jerusalem on the donkey with the palms and so forth. So that was also taking place. It's various parts of the country, and particularly Benke, who we all know is renowned for tapestries and the reenactment and so forth. So those are the two items that I was able to document this weekend. But it's clear that it's already starting to happen. All of these events are taking fold as we gear up for Holy Week on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Yeah.
But not college students. College students are out on Thursday. You know how we go. We may get it next 2 weeks, right? But nevertheless, wherever you are, we hope that you are safe during this holiday. As we move into our show for this morning, we'll get into our Eye on the News.
There's a lot for us to discuss this morning. It's almost as if though we're jumping headfirst into a full-on newscast. I'll keep it fairly short. I'll try my endeavor best. But I want to begin this morning. We don't ordinarily discuss murders on the Eye on the News, save for the incident last weekend with DeAndre Chi in Orange Walk. I try as best as possible to stay away from that kind of coverage early on the Monday mornings. Nonetheless, I think it has struck a number of residents of Belize City, and of course family and friends who may have known 16-year-old Wellington Williams, who was gunned down on Saturday evening in the vicinity of the Port of Belize compound. There's a picture of the young man.
Yeah.
He's a third form SJC student. So I could only imagine what his classmates and what his teachers and the administration, I mean, they're out on vacation at the moment, but I could only imagine what their thoughts and how they feel knowing that a colleague of theirs has been executed in the manner in which he was pounced upon on Saturday.
Yeah.
I am highlighting this because at 16 years old, you really haven't experienced much of life.
Yeah.
You know, at 16 years old, you're a high school student. You're expected to be in secondary school. And I don't know what the circumstances were that resulted in his slaying. I can't say. That's for the investigators to be able to ascertain. What I can say, though, is that from what we've understood, what we've gathered thus far is that he was off to the compound to make some deliveries, right? When a pair of gunmen pounced on him with deadly consequence.
You know, it takes me back to, I can't recall this year, maybe you would be able to assist with that, when there were these delivery guys in the north that were also gunned down as well. This was a while back. But that is where that takes me to, where perhaps it's not the messenger, but it is what is being delivered. And he might not have known either, you know.
Well, I think for all intents and purpose, he was the target of this attack. I mean, you have two individuals who accosted him and opened fire on him. Leads you to believe that he was in fact the quarry, right? And so, like I said, I just wanted to start with that because I think it's a situation that a lot of us, you know, will want to find out from the police department later on today as to what really happened there, you know. It's not often that you get the tragic news of this kind of an incident involving a teenager who's attending school and what have you. Right, so like I said, we will be discussing with the police department a little later on in the morning to get to the details that they are able to share with us in respect of this matter. That's the first thing. Now I want to move into, and I'll do this as sequentially and as chronologically as possible, in the interest of you know, getting it across that way. So on Saturday, all eyes were on the United Democratic Party. They held a national party council where a number of issues were discussed. Going into the NPC, on Friday evening, a letter came out that was written to the chair of the UDP, Mike Perfeet, where certain allegations, if I may, were being made in respect of Ian Jones's withdrawal as the standard bearer, the endorsed standard bearer for Collett, and the return of Patrick Faber as the UDP candidate, standard bearer, going into the next general elections. So that kind of set the tone from at least one perspective. As I mentioned, there were a number of issues that were discussed at the NPC level, but that was set the tone on Friday as to what it would have been, amid talks of the party being as divided as it has ever been, right? Nonetheless, there was a vote that concerned the party leader's position going forward, and there were 102 votes in favor of him not being challenged in terms of his leadership position until after the next general elections at a national convention to be held thereafter. And so you also had 16 dissenting votes, right? All of this, April, amid the fact that the party is trying to rebuild, but there still seem to be tension, you know, in
certain factions
so far as,
as well.
There still seems to be tension insofar as, you know, getting everybody on board and moving in one direction, which is evident by what happened on Friday with the letter that was written to the chairman. So that was one, right? Coming out of that, it was agreed, again, in the first instance by way of vote, that Shine will not be challenged or contested as the party leader going into the next general elections. And so the deputy, the first deputy, or is it the second deputy, sorry, and of course the chairman and the vice chairman will also not be challenged until after the 2025 general elections, right? So those are some of the resolutions amid other points that were agreed upon by the NPC.
Yeah.
So this was Saturday. On Sunday, again, allies are on the United Democratic Party, this time, however, in the Queen Square constituency, where Shane Williams faced off against Godwin Haylock to become the UDP standard bearer for that electoral district. And the results at the end of the day showed that Shane was routed at the polls, essentially, with over 700 in favor of Godwin Haylock and a little over 100 in favor of Shane Williams. Now, some would argue that we could have seen this coming, you know. If you look from the point of view of succession, for instance, where you look at the fact that Dean Barrow held that constituency for 40 years as an elected area representative and then on to becoming the 3-time Prime Minister of this country. Then that was essentially handed over to his sister, Denise Barrow, Sister B, who has been active in the constituency for all these many years as well, but she's more in the background, right? Which is also evident, but regrettable that she's not attending the house meetings and what have you. It's not to say that she's not on the ground doing her thing. It's just that when it comes to the representation of the constituents at that level, she's absent from the house, right? But if you look at what I'm saying is the succession here, where you have Dean Barrow, then Sister B, then Godwin Haylock, who is close to them, he's part of the family, what have you, then you could see that this wasn't too far off. That's on one end. On the other end, you have a young man who's equally considered the son of the soil from that area, from that division, who offered himself, notwithstanding whatever advice or suggestions or you know, positions that would have been taken to discourage him, offered himself to run. And this is a democratic process, so you know it should be open for anyone who wants to contest that seat. So again, the numbers at the end of the day shows that Godwin was, you know, the favored candidate. So now he will be the UDP standard bearer for Queen Square. And I guess perhaps for him, either the work continues or it begins in earnest, because he will have to make his presence felt in the division for the next couple of years if he's to contest. Which many would agree, perhaps, that it is a safe seat for the UDP. I mean, it's been read from, you know, like Kingdom Come, I guess.
I think it, in regards to Shane Williams, though, it does show promise that you are able to still run, even though, you know, regardless of it. It takes a lot of courage to run into a space where it's primarily owned by certain persons already. But I do hope that in the future he runs again and again and again, because this is how you you begin to shift the mindset of other people, and maybe perhaps even though he might not be a representative, he wills changes in his own way, and then maybe next time he is able to hold that seat. But I like stories like Shane Williams. I like stories of younger persons coming on the scene, because we don't get that. Young persons don't get a seat at the political arena. It's a very small percentage of us that do, because we feel like perhaps we're not experienced enough, or we don't have the kind of representation that other people do. So kudos to him for trying and putting his name out on the ballot.
So again, this is all part of, you know, the rebuilding process. And so
The
coming out of the
uniting front.
NPC and coming out of the convention yesterday, we've also been given sort of a schedule or a calendar of events with respect of the municipal elections and how the UDP will now go ahead to put its slates, its respective slates together by municipality, you know, for the next town board or the next city council elections. And we'll see how that works out for them. I mean, if you look at what happened in the wake of the 2020 general elections, where the country essentially went blue, and the subsequent municipal elections where, you know, we got similar results, that everything, you know, was in favor of the People's United Party. So we'll see what happens going forward in respect of the municipals and then subsequently the general elections, right? That's the political part of it.
The eye on the news is lengthy today.
Yeah, and so the next part of our conversation this morning, April, is the visit of Dr. Tsai Ing-wen. She's the president of the Republic of China, Taiwan. She arrived yesterday evening, and of course we had full coverage of her arrival. It is the second visit to Belize during her presidency. And what is interesting about this visit is because it's timely. If you look at what's been taking place within the Central American region, if I could broaden it to say that, in the wake of Honduras, you know, sort of, you know, withdrawing its, you know, alliance, if I say, with Taiwan in favor of one with China, then this visit comes as sort of a reinforcement of ties, strong ties that have been built and forged between Belize and the ROC Taiwan.
Yeah, I find it, I have to note that right after it was announced to the world that Honduras would, you know, officially break ties with Taiwan and create diplomatic ties with China, Belize immediately let a press release to say, you know what, we are still here, we are still strong with Taiwan, we are not going anywhere. And I believe it is only Belize and Guatemala now from Central America that still have their diplomatic ties with Taiwan. And it's also key to note that I believe that when she was making her country visits, she did stop in the United States, and she did want to meet with the name I forgot his name, but he
US
was
president?
No, she wanted to meet with one of the government officials in the Senate, and that is when China took out a press release and said, you know, the U.S. needs to be careful where they're setting their footings in, and she did not. She was not able to meet with him, and then she continued on to her journey to Guatemala, and now she's here in Belize, and I wanted to make note of that particular notion there, because as much as Taiwan is claiming they are an independent nation, they still have that territorial claim from mainland China. And the mere fact that China was able to create this press release and then kind of disrupted her meeting with these persons, it does show where their strength lies and how Taiwan really needs to continue to rebuild their diplomatic relations with the rest of the world. It is imperative for Belize and for other members that have diplomatic ties with Taiwan to stay with this relationship. We've had this relationship for 34 years now, over 30 years with Taiwan, and it's safe to say that a lot of our modern industrial society is built upon that relationship.
All right, guys,
well, it's a mutually beneficial arrangement, so to speak, where we have benefited tremendously in terms of the assistance that we've gotten from Taiwan, and of course they in turn benefit from the support that we've been able to lend over the years, right? And on the home front, nonetheless, so while the president arrived yesterday, there's a full itinerary of events that are taking place over the next 2 days, right? I know that today, this morning, at around 9 o'clock or so, there will be a signing of an agreement between the president and her government and the Briceño administration via the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Thereafter, there will be the ceremonial sitting of the House of Representatives, right? And later in the afternoon, she'll be visiting Central Farm, where the Taiwanese government has been fully invested in various agricultural initiatives in that side of the, country. And so that's just a few of, I mean, there's, like I said, there's a full schedule. Not a whole week, but a full schedule in terms of all the activities she will be engaged with here in Belize, right? So we will be providing coverage of that as well. So, yeah, there's a lot that's happening. I want to say this, and I hope I'm not bookending the eye on the news with, tragedy, right? But I think another thing that struck me this weekend was the death of a 6-year-old who was run over by a utility vehicle on Saturday. When I saw that report, I was taken aback. In the area of Antelope Street Extension, it's somewhat congested, right? In terms of the layout of that particular neighborhood. And so I don't know what the determining factors were that resulted in this child losing his life in that manner. I'm thinking, was it that the driver was speeding? Was it that the child ran out into the street and the driver did not, pay a keen attention or keen enough attention to what happened? I don't know. But, we don't really hear of these kinds of tragedies in Belize City. And I think that's what struck me when I saw the report, in a residential neighborhood at that.
Yeah.
It's not like you're on the highway or you're somewhere open where, these things normally occur. This is in a neighborhood that is populated and is somewhat congested, as I mentioned, right? So, yeah, we have our plates full today in terms of coverage.
You have your plate full as well. I know that there will be coverage this morning for the signing of President Tsai Ing-wen.
I will be out there this morning. And so just to kind of preempt a bit what's going to happen with this show is that at the end of this segment, I'm leaving, and then my colleague Paul is taking over to join you as the co-host. But yes, there's a full schedule of events in terms of coverage of the presidential visit, and of course catching up with things that have happened over the course of the weekend.
And I know we have to close eye on the news soon, as we're stretched for time. But when you are the media, I understood yesterday when we were taking footage of the president's and the ambassadors' speeches, respectively, there was a point where, okay, the media is going to have to close shop.
Yes.
So these protocols will be happening throughout the course
because
of the time.
the truth of the matter is not all of what's taking place is open to the media, right? Particularly where high-level meetings are concerned, where there are certain activities that are reserved only for government officials and what have you. So it's a matter of respecting what the order of the day is where those are concerned, right? And we are aware of it. It's not the first time, and so we're fully compliant with what the rules, with what the rules are, what the expectations are when it comes to that.
All right. Well, Isani, I think that we've covered all of our newscast titles for this morning.
There are a lot more. I mean, we haven't even touched sports or anything else yet.
And
but yes,
that was Sports Monday for Paul.
Yeah, but that does it for us this morning on the Eye on the News. Certainly, you can catch these stories on More live on 5 at 6 p.m. If you're not in front of your television set, no problem. You can catch us on Facebook or YouTube.
And as we move on with our show for this morning, we have our weather report from the folks at the Belize Met Service this morning. As we get them on the line, you know, it's been really, really hot. It's been dry. This is the dry season. I don't know. Every time we bring up the weather, I feel like it's for the most part it's been consistent. It rained in Belmopan for like 2 seconds on Sunday, but
Scattered showers,
it's
we call
yeah,
it.
scattered showers or isolated showers. But nevertheless, it's been hot and it's that time of the year. So hopefully we see if there's any changes in the weather for today as we get the folks on the line. Good morning, Chief.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
All right. Give us the general situation for today.
Okay, mainly warm and dry conditions continue as we expect this time of the year. The 24-hour forecast, mostly sunny today, clear to partly cloudy tonight. Showers, if any, will be brief and isolated.
All right. And our winds?
Winds easterly to southeasterly today, 10 to 20 knots. Sea state moderate. Tonight we expect winds to become gusty, and a small craft caution will likely be issued tonight, for tonight.
And our temperatures, our highs and lows for today?
Okay, highs today, it is 7 along the coast, 94 inland, 82 up in the mountains. The lows tonight, 79 along the coast, 70 inland, 66 up in the mountains.
All right. And our extended forecast for Tuesday and Tuesday night?
Okay, for Tuesday night, and Wednesday mainly fair and warm with little or no rain.
Okay. And no advisories, watches, or warnings for today?
There are none at the moment, except we have the fire risk forecast that the risk for forest and brush fires remains high.
All right. Heat, no? Those forest fires and so on.
Right, dry conditions.
Thank you so much for that update, Chief. Have a good day.
You're welcome.
Hot, dry, stay hydrated, drink water, all the important things during this time of the year. But I hope that the weather motivated you to be hydrated as we tried to motivate you this morning with our eye-opener taken from dailyom.com. And it goes like this. Love exists to be expressed, not withheld. It's easy to take our feelings for granted and to assume that the people we care about know how we feel about them. But while those we love are often quite cognizant of our feelings, saying I love you is a gift we should give to our loved ones whenever we can. Letting people know you love them is an important part of nurturing any kind of loving relationship. It can be difficult to express your love using words, particularly if you grew up around people that never express their affection verbally. But you should never be afraid to say I love you or worry that doing so will thrust you into a position of excessive vulnerability. It is important to share feelings with those that matter to you. Part of the fulfillment that comes with loving someone is telling them that you love them. Besides, love exists to be expressed, not withheld. If you love someone, let them know. Don't be afraid of the strength of your emotions or worried that your loved one won't feel the same way. As each of us is filled with an abundance of love, there is never any worry that you'll run out of love if your expression of love isn't said back to you. Even though it may not always look that way, love from the heart is an offering that is always unconditional and given without strings attached. That is the true essence of the gift of I love you. I think the eye-opener says it all.
It's interesting, April, because the ultimate expression of love is through action, right?
In your opinion.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm opining, so yeah, I'm sharing my point of view. But no, the ultimate expression of love is through action. Because you could say I love you to someone, but if your actions don't indicate the strength of that feeling or that emotion, then, you know, words are gone with the wind, right? But I'm somewhat conflicted because when it comes to saying I love you, you can't just say so and not show it. Even though you're expected to, you know, kind of reinforce that feeling every so often. You tell your kids, you tell your spouse, you tell your parents, your siblings, I love you. Right? That's expected. That makes people feel warm. That makes people feel appreciated or what have you. But it's also overused.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's also overused. So that, you know, I personally, I hinge everything on action because of the overuse of the expression.
Yeah.
Right? Valentine's, birthday, Christmas, special events, you know, I love you.
Yeah.
Fair enough. That's good. But at all other points therein, you still have to be able to show that. You know?
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you. I do think that, I mean, I do believe that you should say it. And one of the reasons why I think I agree with the eye opener is because it's very difficult for people to openly say, I love you.
So if you can't verbalize it, if you can't bring yourself to saying it, then you can do it. And it still delivers the same effect. People know when they are loved. People know when they're appreciated. People know when they're wanted without you having to verbally express that. If it's not in you or if you have a hard time, you know, bringing it out, then just do it.
I know, and I agree. It's just that perhaps some persons, we all love differently, and for some people, yes, you might do all of these things, but I need to hear the words. I need to hear you say it.
This is part of positive reinforcement.
Yes.
The same way we do for children is the same way we should do for each other as adults, you know?
Yeah.
People need to know that. People need to feel that.
People need to know that.
They
People
need
need
to hear
to
it.
feel that. People need to say, but you also, as the person that is perhaps wielding it, needs to know that it's okay to do these things, especially if you're, I guess it's more towards a committed relationship. If you're in a committed relationship and you know that your partner has a love language like this is how you express it, right? Or you vice versa, right?
But here's the thing, though, and you know, I've been observing, studying, participating, you know, being involved fully and all of that stuff. There has to be reciprocity.
Yes.
But reciprocity does not necessarily mean that because you tell me you love me here and now, I need to respond as I love you too, right? Because it depends on, to me, my opinion here, it depends on how that person feels in that particular moment to be able to return.
I know, but how
expression or
awful would that
emotion.
be, though? That if you said something
You could
to
say
somebody,
thanks. Look, if you tell me you love me, I say thanks, right? But if I am in that moment where we're sharing something deep, intimate, or emotional, and you say, "Hey, I love you too,"
yeah,
right? I think we tend to think that because you say it has to be responded to and returned immediately, and the individual may not necessarily be at that place emotionally or mentally.
Yeah. Yet you never know, and that's one of the reasons why I agree with the eye openers. Don't let it be afraid, or don't let it set you back if the person doesn't say it back right away. So wherever you are today, if you have that person that you love, or persons, your family, your friends, you know, say it and mean it, and of course, do it, right? But as we move on with our show for this morning, we have a couple segments lined up for you, and we're going to be joined, Isane, with the representatives from the Organization of Insurance Companies of Belize, and they are going to be speaking to us about insurance for vehicles. You know, it's this time of the year, it's Easter, people are traveling and so forth. So it's very important that you get yourself insured. I see all of the checkpoints lined up all on the highway already. People are prepared, they're there, so make sure that your license are insured. So Orinko will be in with us to talk to us more about that.
The second conversation this morning is with the outgoing president of the Belize National Teachers Union. She's been in that position long enough and has all the experience and knows everything about the trade unions and how the labor movement works where that is concerned.
Yeah.
So my colleague Paul will be having that discussion along with you, April, as they discuss what's happening next with the BNTU.
But before we get into all of that and more, we're going to take the break. We'll be back with Orinko. Stay with us.
rough week of school, Jake and his friends decide to treat themselves to frozen coffee. And since they don't have cash on them, they decide to use eCash. With eCash's geolocation feature, Jake can easily find the nearest coffee spot. With eCash's built-in option to split bills, Jake can pay the bill and his friends can reimburse their portion of the bill. Jake scans the merchant's code and confirms payment. Jake then views his transaction history and taps on the transaction recently made, then taps the Split the Bill button where he selects the Evenly option to evenly split the bill. The application splits the bill automatically. His friends receive and accept the request. Geolocation and splitting the bill via eCash makes Jake enjoy his digital lifestyle.
Hey, babe, I need some cash.
Okay, right now I transfer some.
Short on cash? Make up the difference with V-Bucks. Transfer V-Bucks quickly and easily. Enjoy your shopping experience at V-Mart or any other Benny's entity and get rewarded today.
Mom, nothing fast, but how you do that just now?
V-Bucks?
V-Bucks, rewarding loyalty.
Sign up for Smart Share Plan and save big. Whether you're a small entrepreneur starting up your business, a student on a limited budget, or a family trying to save, this is the plan for you. With unlimited SMS, calls, and data, we help you save. Get up to 5 lines for as low as $30 per line monthly, only with Smart. Sign up today at any Smart showroom or sales manager countrywide. So get your business going, share more memories with friends, and be ready for the day with Smart.
From now on, when you visit Uno, you will experience an A+ power in all fuels. Dynamax has evolved into Dynamax Plus. The new formula with the ultimate technology and additives provides an A+ power and A+ performance. Dynamax Plus, available in diesel, regular and premium. Try it today and reach further. Uno, a different energy.
Are you looking for low-cost television advertising? Have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you to save valuable time and money. Call us today at 280-0013 or visit us at our offices on Coney Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
When someone you love becomes a memory, the memory becomes a treasure. Channel 5 introduces the Daily Obituaries. The Daily Obituaries will broadcast all death and funeral announcements and memorials to honor your loved one's life and memories. The Daily Obituaries airs on Channel 5 prior to the evening newscast, with subsequent repeats at 10 p.m. and 12 noon the following day. It will also be placed online on our social media platforms, all for a standard package fee. Celebrate their lives and memories with Channel 5's Daily Obituaries. Honor in life and reverence in death.
Do you have information about a crime or a fugitive in our community? You can submit a tip anonymously with your smartphone. Using this program in safeguarding our community also protects your identity, keeping you out of the court system, and could earn you a cash reward. Here is how it works. Download the free P3 Tips app from the Apple Store or Android Market. P3 is the provider of our secure anonymous tip collecting software. Open the app and create a PIN, but be sure to remember that number, then select your location. Next, select the type of crime. When submitting a tip, be as specific as possible. If you have a picture, video or audio that will help officers, you can upload them from your phone. Information leading to an arrest can earn you a cash reward of up to $1,000. Once your tip is submitted, you'll be given a tip ID and password. Check back if your tip leads to an arrest. You'll be told how much you were rewarded and how to anonymously collect your cash.
And we are back with our first segment for this morning. Joining us, we have the representatives from the Organization of Insurance Companies of Belize, Orinco.
Right.
And we have joining us in studio Norman Moore, who is the president of Orinco. Good morning.
Good morning.
And Andrew Rowe, who is the secretary of
Morning.
Orinco. Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
So I know that we're here initially to talk about insurance for vehicles and so forth, but just to give a bit of a backdrop of the Organization of Insurance Companies of Belize. It is an array of the different insurance companies and so forth, but why did we need to have something like this? Aren't y'all like rivals and stuff like that?
Good question. which is true, right? And a lot of people always ask that question, like, yeah, we are competitors outside, but on a whole, we still come together to try to work to move the insurance industry forward, right? So now Orinco is a collective body which has all insurance, life and general insurers together as under one unit. All right, and again, it's just so that we have a bigger voice and we can be heard, in the public, right? It was established in 1985, way before my time, but however, it's still going and it's still here, no?
So it's basically, is it that you guys decide within yourselves and your meetings the different changes to policies, or is it something from a legislative level and then you come into agreement, or you state your positions on different legislative matters pertaining to insurance? How does that work?
Yeah, mostly it is kind of an organization to look at. The primary things we're looking at is industry-wide. Legislation is an important one. In fact, the supervisor of insurance is preparing an updated Insurance Act at the moment, which is something we're going to be spending a lot of time on. We look at things that pertain to the industry more, rather than individual policies. That's all set by the companies themselves. We look at more things that affect the industry as a whole and how we can work together to counter them. And motor insurance is one of them, one of the challenging points at the moment.
So motor insurance, let's get a bit into that. We understand based on, first of all, it came to us via reports from viewers that the motor vehicle insurance specifically saw an increase recently, and for the average Belizean, it's a pain in the side, to say the least, to hear that what I've been paying for my motor insurance is no longer the case, but that has increased. I don't exactly know the percentage, but I've heard 30% as one of the numbers thrown by one of the insurance purchasers, 30% increase. So for example, if I used to pay $100 on my insurance at RFNG for 3 months, that has now gone up to some $130.
150.
That's right. So that's 50%. That's a 50%
yes.
increase. Damn. If I could say damn on TV.
I've already sunk myself, so you could see that.
So let's talk a bit about that and the reason for this increase. How do we justify this? How do you justify this to your customers when they come in and they're used to paying that $100 every 3 months? That's what they brought to pay, and then to hear, man, $50 more, and then have to scramble to find that. But I'm sure there's a reason behind it, and that's perhaps what we're here to talk about.
No, yes. You see, since the pandemic happened, we've seen dramatic increase in inflation, and we have always tried to maintain our premiums at a certain level. However, we've come to the reality that that's not just going to happen. We can't sustain the business by just leaving the premium where it is. You all will see it as just a 50% there. I mean, 50% increase. However, if you take, for an example, I ran some numbers, and from last year in, say, 2022, February to now, I did a comparison just on a regular fender bender. Whenever the claims come through, and I would usually vet them, as you see the amount, you can immediately say, okay, that's a fender bender, and that's fine, right? Now, so back in 2022, say 2021 then, you're paying somewhere about maybe $350 to maybe $400 for a minor fender bender. Come now to 2023, you're paying like $650, almost up to $700, and that's somewhere around the vicinity of about 42.8% increase that we're seeing just from trying to repair the same damages that just happened like about 2 years ago. And then now we are trying to find that same money to try to, from the same $100 for the 3 months, to try to deal with that expense and try to get our insurance person back on the road and safely. But again, with the increase of everything that goes into it, I mean, the parts, the shipping, and I mean, even the issue that happened over in the US, because 90% of our cars on the roads here are imported from the US. And because of the supply chain issue that they had, it trickles down and it affects us here now. So that's our...
So allow me to just ask a follow-up question and for further clarification. Because you're right to saying that because of inflation, the cost of services and even the equipment and the tools and the different devices used to repair a vehicle, the parts, all of this has skyrocketed. So that's the fact. And it's one reason you're stating as to why there's a need to increase the premium. My question, however, is, given the fact that an insurance customer would not seek this type of service or remuneration on a regular basis, let's say I'm paying insurance every 3 months, but at $100, but I only needed that service once over the last 2 years. You know, so in my mind, that money that I've been paying every 3 months, that $100 every 3 months, that has been piling up in my mind. So that when I actually need the service, the insurance to back me up from that funds, that should be there. And so, because it's somewhat, in my mind, somewhat of a saving, so there's no need for the premium to increase, because I'm not coming to you every month or every 3 months or every half a year or every year to seek a service. I'm a safe driver.
You've done a really good job there of kind of putting insurance into context, because that's how insurance works. It's a pool. It's, if you think of it, it's like maybe the swimming pool at the Princess. Everybody's putting their money in there. Right? Everybody who pays their premiums, the money goes into that pool. But at the same time, there's money coming out of that pool. And that money is designed to pay the claims that arise for motor insurance. As well as, once the claims are all paid, there's the cost of just providing insurance services, you know, the offices, the staff, etc. And at the end of the day as well, the shareholders who put their money up also expect some kind of return, because insurance is a for-profit venture. So, to give you some statistics to put this all into context, last year the motor insurance industry as a whole, everybody as a whole, lost $4 million from motor insurance. The supervisor of insurance publishes on a quarterly basis and shares the industry statistics with the insurance companies. And so, looking back to that last year, that's what the insurance industry lost, $4 million. Put it another way, the insurance industry needed to collect $4 million more in order to simply break even before we even look at paying back shareholders or anything like that. $4 million more. And so that, as Norman kind of started out with, that is all a consequence of rapid inflation that has taken place over the last couple of years. Coupled with, we've also seen, and you guys report on this every weekend, I'm sure your newscast tonight has it lined up. How many accidents happen on the road this weekend? And you only report on the fatal ones.
Yeah.
You're not reporting on the ones where there's severe injury. You're not reporting on the ones where somebody run off the road and crash into somebody's house. You're not reporting on all of that.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing we don't have much statistics on, and it would be great if, I think, if the transport department shared more of that to get people to understand. But the long and the short of it is that insurance companies, prior to this increase, were not charging sufficient money to pay those claims. And if that continues, it would mean that everyone on the road is at risk of having an accident where repairs can't be fixed because insurance companies haven't been paid enough premium. They're at risk of having severe injury because people haven't been paying enough premium. So the industry as a whole had to come together and say, listen guys, it kind of came out of left field. I mean, we knew inflation was taking place, but the speed was rapid. Yeah. And we said as an industry, we need to move motor premiums. And so collectively, all the insurance companies looked at what they were charging and they had to increase them. And that's kind of how we've come to where we are.
Can I ask a very unformative question in the sense that when a person comes in and because we all need insurance, right? You can't be on the road without it, right? They'll charge you if you don't have it. Do customers relatively understand what they're purchasing?
I would say rarely.
Okay.
Now, we as insurance companies do our best to try and explain what it is that we're purchasing. But I'll be honest, I think, and I was guilty of it myself. Before I started working in insurance, I was working at one of the banks. I bought myself a little car. I went and bought insurance, and I'll be honest, they gave me that insurance policy. I just threw that straight in my glove compartment. I paid what the premium was, threw that in there, and I said, I'm not worrying about that
That stays
anymore.
in the back of my car seat.
It's in the glove compartment, that's where it goes.
So the truth is very few people understand it. But it's a great question because it is a value product. This isn't just, like your license that you go pay, and that goes into maybe general revenue or wherever the money goes, and you see some road works being done, you see traffic officers being out there on the roads, but this is a tangible product that you receive benefit from should you have an accident that you have to call upon it. And the basic required insurance that you need to be on the road to be legal is called Motor Act insurance. That's the $150 that you're referring to.
Okay.
Yeah. And what that provides is $20,000, only $20,000 I'll put out there. $20,000 for property damage. So if you run into somebody's vehicle, knock somebody off of a motorcycle, as I said, run into somebody's house, $20,000 is all the policy will pay for the repairs. On the other side, you have bodily injury, and that policy pays up to $200,000 of bodily injury, but that is sub-limited to $50,000 a person. So again, if you knock somebody off of a motorcycle, it'll pay up to $20,000 to fix that motorcycle and up to $50,000 for the injuries that you cause to that individual. Now I'll say again, those numbers aren't very high.
Yeah.
No.
When we look at $20,000, there's a lot of vehicles on the road, but I'd guarantee that not many of them are worth less than $20,000. They're probably, I think when we look at our average values of vehicles in our portfolio, at least for RF&G, you're looking at somewhere around $30-something thousand. So if you total one of those cars and it was worth $35,000, the insurance company pays $20, and out of your pocket comes $15 or the balance of whatever it is.
Yeah.
So the value of the product then is high in terms of you pay $150 every 3 months, and basically you're covered for $20,000.
The sum total of $220,000.
For the sum total of $220,000.
So how long would it take you to save 100? If you saved 100, let's say the annual product costs $350. How long would it take you to save $350 a year to get to $220? I think you've been dead before.
Right.
But I asked about what if customers understand what they're purchasing, because like majority of the times we don't take road safety with caution. You say it yourself, we report on these accidents almost every single day.
Yeah.
But, so what is it about the measures that we're taking on the road that now, well, insurance can cover it, but we're not really understanding what the insurance will actually cover, you know?
Yeah, well, again, I mean, it's incumbent upon us to try to educate our customers all the time. And they're always, every now and again, you'd see any insurance company put out ads trying to educate the public on different aspects of the insurance policy that they have. All right, and that's, I mean, as far as we can go, is just trying to teach them or trying to ask them, you know, ascertain from them when they come in, what is it that you exactly need, and we can provide what for your needs, no? But again, I think it falls back on people need to read their policy, right? Honestly, because they're just, like what Andrew said, they just buy it and then they put it in the car. But I mean, you need to read through your policy and get familiar with all the terms and conditions of it so that in the event that you have an accident, I mean, you're more informed and you can approach the insurance company at a better stance then, right?
What's the number, I would imagine the organization has this, the number of insured vehicles on the roads in Belize? What does that population look like?
That's a tough. We don't like combine our numbers of motor vehicles.
Okay.
I know that at the moment the transport department is in the process of launching a new digital system where they can gather the data from all of the municipalities, because we have, you know, like Belize City, that's managed by City Council. Belize Rural, that's Ministry of Transport. So there's a lot of different organizations that have this data. The Ministry of Transport is consolidating that through a centralized database at the moment, and I'm sure that once they have that, they'll be able to share more information. If I was to take a guess, I would guess somewhere in the region of 100, a little over 100,000 vehicles are on the road in Belize.
Does the increase in premiums vary from company to company, or is it one standard?
So there's kind of, for the basic product, for the Motor Act 1, the one that everybody needs, there's kind of a minimum premium that's charged by all the companies. Again, depending on your driving history, what type of vehicle you have, your age, it could go up from there. And then for the other products, the companies kind of set their prices for some of the other products, because each company provides
different services,
different types of, well, not services, but different products. So you may have one policy that covers, say, $1 million, and then from one company, and that's just a total of $1 million. Another company may provide $1 million, but it's sublimited to different amounts. So it can't be the same amount can't be charged because it's not the same risk that's being taken on.
Yeah.
How do the laws of Belize, the laws of the roads in Belize, affect insurance? And I ask this in the case of two persons collide, they both go in because one is at fault, the other one is claiming no, they're at fault. How do these things get settled with insurance? That when one claims their fault, what happens next?
Well, I think the attorney is the best person to
yes.
Well,
hence why I asked this.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the point when you have an accident, it's really dependent on the parties involved. One party might say yes, and the other party might accept. You might have an instance where both parties don't accept. In an instance like that, that's the reason why in the third-party motor act there's a no-fault benefit. So if there's any kind of bodily injury that occurs during that accident, the insurer would actually pay out up to a maximum of $5,000 to cover any initial bodily injury expenses at that point in time. But again, if nobody wants to accept liability or fault of the accident, usually the police would be on the scene, and then they would necessarily write up a report and say who is at fault. And again, the person that the police would say would be at fault, they still have the right to dispute it. And again, it can be dragged on or whatsoever, and it will more than likely end up in the courts. If it ends up there, again, you're looking at, I don't know, maybe like a 2-year wait sometimes. It depends, right? But again, it's incumbent upon parties to come together and try to, I would say, negotiate an agreement.
And the insurance companies are always there in the middle. We as insurance companies, we don't want to go to court. We don't want to be spending 2 years of our staff's time trying to manage these things. So we very often will say, listen, guys, based on our experience, because we deal with plenty claims, you, sir, look like maybe you're primarily responsible for the accident. Why don't you accept 70% of the responsibility? And then the other person can accept 30% of the responsibility because maybe they did something to contribute to the accident. And so we try to get in there and say, okay, guys, let's come together, agree, the insurance pays what it needs to pay, and then everybody can go about their business. But one thing I think Norman mentioned that's important for the public to understand is the law mandates that if you're in an accident, and regardless of who's at fault and who accepts, you are entitled to collect up to $5,000 reimbursement of any medical bills that have arisen out of that accident without anyone having to say they're at fault.
Yes.
That means that the person can go to the hospital, they can get at least some basic medical attention, or at least have $5,000 of their bills covered before having to go through, you know, the fight that Norman just raised.
Let me ask, go back a bit to the price increase. Is it we made mention of the basic
Motor
package,
Act,
yeah, that comes in at 150 at RF&G. I would imagine this isn't the only package or premium that has registered an increase. Are there other services, and what are the increases? What do those look like?
Yeah, for the most part, on liability insurance. So that's the part where you're paying insurance to protect you from injuries or damages you cause to somebody else. Across the industry, those prices have gone up. 30 to 50% is about the range where it has been. I know, I mean, before, right after COVID, and we realized inflation was taking place, I think a lot of the insurance companies were doing smaller increases, 5 to 10%, but when you're looking at inflation of 20 to 30% a year for 2 years, you can't, 7% is never going to keep up with it.
I wouldn't want to imagine that these are arbitrary figures that we came up with, the organization, to say, hey, I think if we increase it by 30% or 50%, we'll see our margins increase at the end of the fiscal year. So how did we come about with these percentages? What sort of assessment was done?
So yeah, I mean, if we were just, you know, licking our finger and putting it in the air, you know, certainly RF&G as a company wouldn't have been around for 60 years. Home Protector wouldn't have been around for 40 years.
Yeah.
ICB wouldn't have been around for probably about 40 years as well. We're not in the business of just making up numbers.
Yeah.
This is there is a lot of work. There's a lot of review. There's a lot of math, basically, just to keep it simple, that goes into trying to figure out what's an appropriate premium to make sure that we can cover the claims that are going to come from these policies, and not just cover the claims at today's costs, but cover some of these are 12-month contracts. So what's it going to cost me to pay this claim 364 days from now? So that has to go into it. We have, again, the cost of just administering it, our staff who are there, who are selling the products, the premises that we have to operate on. We all have fairly sophisticated insurance operating systems that are a cost. All of that goes in, and at the end of the day, as I said, shareholders who invest their money into these insurance companies do expect a return, so that has to be factored in as well. So there is certainly it's not just a, you know, pick a number out of the air and let's see if that works. It has to be thought through very carefully, because you guys, the general public, expect us to be here to pay those claims when they come, not if they come, when they come.
Yes, yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because one of the things that persons, and not just with motor insurance is a must, we have to have it, but for other packages such as health and life, particularly life, most Belizeans aren't privy to taking up, you know, life insurance. Is that really something that I need, and so forth. So what is your justification then to persons that might not want to take life insurance or health insurance for that matter? I never get sick, so I don't need health insurance.
No, I think persons really need to reevaluate their mindset when it comes to insurance, because to be honest, for me personally, every time I'm scrolling on social media and then you see fundraiser to raise funds for this person because they're suffering from this illness. Now, if that person was being proactive and purchases like a life insurance or a medical insurance, he wouldn't have to be on social media doing something like that. So it's I don't know. I think that insurance is a necessary evil for everybody, but it's something that you should have, honestly. Because just like rightfully what you said, I mean, you've been paying so much money and then you expect that when it happens, we should pay out, right? So, but you don't know when that eventuality might happen or the accident might happen. So it's just best to have it and, you know, need it. Or
The truth of the matter is, April, I've been paying insurance since I began to drive. And that was since I was 18. I won't tell you my age right now, but it's more than a decade later. And I haven't gotten into an accident, at least not serious enough.
Touch on right here.
That I need a sort of insurance payout. I mean, I wish I could go to RF&G today and say, hey, I've been paying for the last 10 years. Can I cash in on that? Because it's a lot of money. Was there no, and let me just say that we purchase motor vehicle insurance because it's required by law versus life insurance and these other forms of insurance. There's necessary legislation that obligates us to make this purchase. So it's one of those unnecessary evils, as you say, in terms of life insurance, in terms of motor vehicle insurance. Was there no other way to offset this cost or this deficit in terms of your budget? Other packages maybe? There's insurance given to, I would imagine, larger companies that makes the big amount of money versus the smaller guy who pays that 100 now 150.
Well, I mean, a lot of questions in there. I will say to the bigger commercial.
I could go for my money.
Yeah, the commercial entities, they're seeing increases, I think, that are a bit more hefty than just the individuals. So it's not just this is across the board. You said you've been paying insurance for over 10 years. I'm just wondering, has the price changed much since you started buying it?
That's the thing.
So 10 years ago, this $100 that you're talking about, I think that number came around 2010, 2008, 2010. So we're looking at nearly 15 years. 15 years that price hasn't changed. What else can you say hasn't changed in 15 years? Gas has, construction has, the vehicles you're driving has, the pack of bread you eat, the eggs you eat, the milk, everything. In 15 years, those have all gone up. Insurance is one of the only things. And so when you ask again, what have you guys looked into, what can be done? We look very closely because we understand that this is a mandatory product that's needed by everybody. But we also understand our obligations on the other side. And then to what are we doing to try and make this, to try and fix or try and address the costs in the background? We obviously don't want to pay out more than we should. So I think all insurance companies have been looking very closely at the cost of their claims. One thing we're doing as an industry, again, because that's what we're here to talk about, is we're looking at what's called a claims bank. So this is a piece of software that all the motor insurance companies will have and will be able to upload our data, our claims data, into a centralized bank. And that will mean that when somebody comes into, let's say April goes to buy insurance at Home Protector, Norman's staff can look into the system and say, okay, look, I can see April's been driving for 5 years and she's had no accidents in that time. She looks like she's a safe driver. I'm going to give her this premium. Now, if Andrew is a bad driver and I'm crashing all over the place, I have an insurance with RF&G, I crash with them. I go to Atlantic, I crash with them. I go to Home Protector, I crash with them. I say, all right, ICB's turn. I don't crash with them yet. Let me go try that. I go there, ICB will be able to punch into their system and say, watch here, this Mr. Rowe, he have about 5 accidents in the last 3 years. He's costing the industry money. His premium is going to go through the roof, or perhaps he's not going to get insurance at all. So for you, coming back to you as a safe driver who's been for 10 years and not had an accident, the goal of that software is to make sure that you can have the best premium available on the market, and those people who are crashing will be paying a little bit more.
Well, no, just to add on to what Andrew was saying, your question, what we looked into. Now, for me, it's both sides, domestic and international. You have to remember that your motor portfolios are reinsured outside. And as well, when when a catastrophe happens outside, for example, the one that recently occurred in Miami with the 2 hurricanes, that is a trickling effect. Our reinsurance treaties that we sign, there's going to be an increase, and they're already hinting to us, our reinsurers are saying it's about 10% increase, which translates to a 20% in our dollars.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, all of that has to be factored in just trying to increase these premiums.
Step back. I just wanted clarity
yes.
On that, because I'm not too sure I understand what you're saying about being insured outside.
Well, okay. All insurers here, domestic insurers, are required by law to have reinsurance, meaning that we would take a portfolio and put it on the open market and get a price on it, and they would insure us against those certain catastrophes or perils for a year.
It's
right?
insurance for insurance
companies.
Okay.
Yes.
It's the simplest way to put it.
Yeah.
I wanted to, as we're wrapping up the show this morning, our segment this morning, I wanted to go into briefly the property and home protectors insurances, just because there is that 30% increase in property tax, as Paul had mentioned. And,
yes.
And lately there has been a series of fires and homes being destroyed, and some homes being destroyed not by fires from their home, but from fires being, winded to them. So let's talk a little bit about home protectors insurance and why the increase in that.
Homeowners insurance.
Homeowners. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Norman really just touched on it about
with the reinsurance. Like I said, we are going to see a 20% increase somewhere during this year. So it's something that we don't have control over that.
Okay.
Right? Because those contracts are negotiated outside. We play a role in it in trying to get the best premiums or whatsoever for us. But again, that still will trickle down to the customer. Yeah. Right?
So in terms of, back to motor insurance, because I wanted to ask one final question on that, April. We're saying that because of the increase or the high volumes in accidents, the ones that even we don't report on, there's huge payouts annually. So that being a pain in the side for the insurance companies, I would imagine there's also a corporate responsibility that needs to be taken on for you guys. It will benefit not only Belizeans, but also your lines in terms of what you make at the end of the year, in terms of safe driving. What do insurance companies see as their role in terms of changing the culture among Belizeans in terms of how we drive, drunk driving?
Can I say that Zalapan finally get stoplights repaired because of a fatal accident that was right at the intersection?
There you go. So there's a culture.
It's really rough. I mean, we're sitting here right now, and in all honesty, and it's a scary thought that I'm sure there's viewers right now watching who come Easter this weekend are going to go to the bar, they're going to get drunk, they're going to get in their car, they're going to start driving, and they're going to have an accident. That's a guarantee. When we open on Tuesday morning, we're going to be inundated with claims, and the majority are from drunk driving. Texting and driving is another one. That's as bad as drunk driving. There's no question about that. So what do? It's tough. I mean, we can only do so much. We do have a close relationship with the transport department. We meet with them as an industry and with the supervisor of insurance at least twice a year to discuss various matters. But at the end of the day, it's down to enforcement. We have a whole bunch of great laws, but if they're not enforced, what can we do? And then the cost ultimately falls back on the consumer. Because we've been talking, this conversation has been honed in on insurance. But that's only one factor in the cost of motor vehicle ownership. If you have to finance your vehicle, there's the cost of the financing and the cost of buying the actual vehicle. You then have your insurance and your license that has to be paid. You have the cost of fuel, which has been going up. And correct me if I'm wrong, but nobody's vehicle is going anywhere without fuel in it, right? So those three things are mandatory. Those three, as you've been saying, these are mandatory items that are needed in order for your vehicle to get moving. There's a fourth one that people are forgetting, and that is maintenance. people think that, oh, well, I don't have to fix my brakes even though they're not really working. I don't have to change that tie rod end even though my wheel is looking like it's about to fall off because it's driving like this. I can go a little bit longer. And then what ends up happening? We end up with an accident.
But those vehicles should not be on the road in the first place.
And that brings me back to enforcement. Because we know that, you know, you go renew your license. And no offense to the traffic department because they do a fantastic job most of the time. But I'll be honest, when you go to the traffic, when you go renew your license, if the guy gets out of the booth, that's a lot. Just to check if you could blow the horn and turn on your indicators. You know, we see some of the vehicles that people bring to us to try to insure are not roadworthy, and some of the vehicles that we're importing, and that goes to a whole other level of whether the customs and importation are doing the right thing. These vehicles they have no business on the road whatsoever. And so what's ending up happening is it's all falling on the insurance companies. And while we can do what we can to try and make the changes, at the end of the day, the only thing that we have control of is the price, the acceptance of risk, and how much we charge for it. And those are the two things that we're having to push at the moment.
As we come to a close for our segment, are any of your insurance companies having any kind of Easter discounts, giveaways?
At this point, when they're raising prices?
Like I said, I mean, if we ever get an Easter where I can walk into my office and find that there's been just the same amount of accidents as a normal weekend, maybe we'll do something for the Easter. But what we're coming, anytime you see Easter, September, Christmas, Boxing Day, all of that is just, it's mayhem on the roads. So be careful. That's my Easter gift to everybody out there. Please be careful on the road. Please take your time. You know, slowing down 10 miles an hour will only get you there maybe 10 minutes later. So take your time, get there safely. Don't drink and drive. Don't text and drive. Be focused on the road so we can enjoy the holiday.
We didn't get a chance to ask you, but I did want to talk about, we were talking about private vehicle motor insurance, but we didn't get into public transportation and those insurance either, which I assume is also parts of your policies. And so just quickly, do they fall under as well as that increase of the 150?
Well, I mean, no, honestly, the increase doesn't affect those because, I mean, there's a different piece of, I say, legislation that covers fare-paying passengers, right? So from you enter into like a taxi or a bus and they have insurance on it, there's a coverage that covers the passengers within it. They pay a very high premium already, and we haven't increased those any at all for them. So it's only for the third-party act policy, the one that you need to be on the road, that we have increased so far. And also on the commercial side for that, we have increased that as well. Right?
Wonderful. And of course, insurance, I am a believer of insurance. Health, life, house, car. I know you've never been in an accident, and I'm so happy for you. But honestly, you never know, and that's why the insurance is there. So Andrew, Norman, thank you both so much for
thank you for having us, guys. Appreciate it.
And as Andrew and Norman said, just be careful on the road. A lot of you are going to be on. It's the vacation time, so please be as safe as possible. We'll take the break, Paul, and then we are going to be back with the president of BNTU as she makes her way out of her seat. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Fulltech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere, satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price but stay for the service.
Whether you are getting ready for school or the office, or to work on a construction site, there is one common factor. Great days start by looking your best. From the moment you start to button your shirt, strap your boots, or straighten your badge, every detail of your uniform was sourced with you in mind. At Tropicana Store, we pride ourselves in providing the highest quality, most durable uniform brands. Our collection includes 100% cotton or dry fit, wrinkle-free, smart crease, and machine washable options. Your uniform is a reflection of you, and you deserve to look your best. Visit Tropicana Store today and see for yourself the high quality that only we can provide. Your uniform, your identity, your choice. Only at Tropicana Store.
If you are ailing due to a chronic disease and are left permanently invalid before retirement age, you may want to check if you qualify to receive invalidity benefit. The invalidity benefit exists for persons who are unable to continue working due to permanent illness. To qualify, you must be under 60 years old, must be sick for 26 consecutive weeks and certified to be medically unable to perform any type of work, must have at least 5 years of paid SSB contributions and at least 5 paid within the 3 months leading up to your illness. If you do not qualify for the invalidity pension, you may be eligible for the invalidity grant. Want to know more about invalidity benefit? Visit our website or contact any of our offices to have someone assist you. Also, be sure to visit our Facebook page and give us a like to stay informed. Social Security Board, safeguarding you, your family, your future.
Environmentally degradable plastics, or EDP, are plastics that are affected by a combination of environmental conditions that cause the plastic to break down within an acceptable time frame. They are specifically designed to degrade into carbon dioxide, water, and other biomass substances. The level of breakdown can vary based on standard test methods appropriate to the plastic. Click on the link below to see what you can do to help end the nightmare of single-use plastics. I'm Alison Castillo, and now you know.
With eCash, bill payment is extremely convenient, and all utility companies accept eCash payments. What's even better? You get to split bills with your roommates, siblings, or whoever you desire. Simply open your eCash app, go to Bill Pay, tap the respective utility company, enter the information, and pay the bill. Then tap the transaction made. Tap Split the bill. Select Evenly. Send the request to who you are splitting the bill with, and get notified when they pay. Talk about making life easy and avoiding confusion. You can split the bill for restaurants, grocery stores, and for any eCash payment you make. To find your next yummy meal, hair treatment, or chill spot, simply open the app and utilize the geolocation service to see nearby businesses that accept eCash. Geolocation and bill payment make life a whole lot easier.
Galenia Hospital, located in Cancun, Mexico's premier tourism destination, is a state-of-the-art healthcare facility that provides highly specialized medical services. We are Quintana Roo's biggest private hospital with board-certified doctors and staff. Some of our services include Cath Lab, Adult Intensive Care Unit, Neonatal Intensive Care Unit, emergency rooms, operating theaters, ambulance services, and more. We are a medically accredited hospital by JCI, Accreditation Canada International, and General Health Council, providing extraordinary care in every specialty, from our cardiology department to our neurology center. We are focused on treating the entire person, body, mind, and spirit. Contact us at medicaltourism@hospitalgalenia.com or visit our website at www.hospitalgalenia.com. Come to Galenia Hospital in Cancun for a truly personal medical care experience.
Smart introduces Real Unlimited Postpaid Plans, providing customers with unlimited talk, unlimited text, and unlimited data. Now that's a real great deal. With Smart Plus, Share 1 and 2, and Enterprise 1 and 2 plans, you can talk as much as you want, text as much as you want, and for the first time ever in Belize, you can enjoy unlimited data with your postpaid plan. So come in and sign up for an unlimited postpaid plan and enjoy limitless possibilities. In addition, other plans such as the Flex Junior, Choice, and Select have been boosted with a lot more talk, text, and data, providing you with the best value for your budget. Be unlimited with Smart. It's time to power your dollar with Smart.
And we are back for our second conversation this morning. And we have someone who is no stranger to the OIE set. She's none other than Senator Elena Smith, the president of the Belize National Teachers Union.
For now. Yes.
President Smith, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. And
How
thanks
are
for
you
having
this
me.
morning?
I'm good. I'm
Yeah.
good. I had a weekend in my garden, fooling around
Did
with my
you?
plants,
I
and
tell
so
you,
that's
she's so
Nice.
bright and happy this
Yeah,
morning
you know.
on Monday.
Perhaps we need a garden.
We need a garden.
yeah, chopping on your weed, wakan, cutting the yard, and the plants.
Well, Senator, we're here to talk about a couple of things. The first, perhaps, being your soon-to-come exit from the presidency, the seat of the Belize National Teachers Union. We understand that the 2023 convention is coming up right after Easter,
Right.
And so, first of all, let's talk a bit about the expectations for that event as it quickly approaches. I understand there's 3 candidates with 3 different teams vying for this the seat.
Right. So each year we have our convention on the Wednesday and Thursday after Easter.
Okay.
So that's a
That's
set
standard.
schedule, right? So our teachers are aware that those are the dates for our convention. Whatever time, whatever month they fall in, March or April, depending on how the Easter falls,
Yeah.
is the Wednesday and Thursday after Easter.
Okay.
So this year is an election year. So that simply means that we are going to be having all positions open and persons can vie for those positions. So as you said, we have 3 candidates vying for the post of national president. We have 2 for first vice president, and we have 2 for secretary. The treasurer is uncontested, so she will remain as the treasurer for another term. That's Keisha Williams.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the others, have to be fighting for their spot right now.
So people may ask, why is it that you are not vying for
your
another term in the seat of the president? Why is that?
Our constitution was changed a few years ago, and it limited the term that we can run. So we now have a term limit.
Okay.
And so our limit is 3 terms. So once you've served 3 terms in that position, you can't go back again in that position. But I could have come back as vice president, for example, as the secretary, as the treasurer,
Okay.
right? I could have taken on
Just
any
not
of
the
those other
president.
positions, right? Just not the same position.
What?
So, but I believe that as a leader, you should know when it's time to exit. When your time has come. And I believe that I have given all my life to union, because I've been serving this union since the 90s on an executive of the Belize branch, and then I moved I worked my way up. And so it would have been maybe 28 years or so that I have been on an executive, 28 consecutive years on an executive until I got to the national level. And I think that I have served my time. I think I have done my best, and I believe that it's time for other people to, to come and take over, to improve on what myself and my team did, to add new flavors, because after a while, you run short on ideas. You have to dig deep to find those right. You have to find those, and it's not just ideas. It's ideas that are going to help the majority, or things that are going to make you want. And if you think that you are unable to continue putting forth those ideas, or you're not getting support for those ideas to make the change that you want, then it's best that you exit and have somebody else take over. So for me, I think I have served my time, and I didn't expect to go beyond this. I had always said to myself, once, it wasn't an aspiration, if you will, for me to be the national president. Let me say that first off. I was content with wherever I was, but I was encouraged by my branch, and I thought, well, I've done it at the local level. Why not? Why not try it? And that was my second try, because I tried it first time already, and I didn't make it. So I said, well, that's not for me.
Yeah.
And then the second time, well, there was so much going on the second time around. I'm sure you all remember 2017 and all of the political things that were happening. We almost didn't have it. But, as I said, a lot of teachers have asked me, why not change the constitution so that it can be open? But I think when we do that, we open ourselves, because you may have a good president who you may want to serve longer, but you may have one who might be rogue.
Yeah.
You never know, and
you want to get rid of that one,
right? So, but the person doesn't have to go 3 terms, because at the end of 2 years you have another election. So if the person is rogue,
2 years for every term.
Correct. So if the person is rogue, you don't elect the person at the election. So
I'm glad you're talking about your history with the BNTU, because that was going to be my next question. I want accomplishments, and one that I must say, I believe it was a colleague of mine that snapped a photo of you when you came out of the assembly, onto the assembly steps in your green. Right?
Yeah.
And it was that moment where I believe it was very inspiring to everybody everywhere that said that is the caucus for change, if I will, right? I know that for somebody else, party, but it's the inspiration for what everybody else is vying for, which is we need change. So with you being that emblem and that symbol for a lot of people out there, how do you measure all of your other accomplishments while you were president of the BNTU?
A lot of people told me about that picture, and I did get a copy of it.
Yeah.
And when I walked out because we were having Senate meeting on that day, and so they were there protesting. When I walked out, my only thought was, no, let me go and greet my members. And so I left and I went out to greet my members, not for me to go there and
make a speech.
Right. I wasn't thinking of the impact, what people might see that as. I was just only thinking about greeting my membership. And so that's what I did. And then I realized that so many people are talking about that picture, President, you should run for the Prime Minister. President, you should this. I was like, it's like a wow. A simple act, something as simple as that, had such an impact on so many persons that sometimes we don't pay attention to how our actions or how what we say or do affect other people.
Yeah.
So that would have been a highlight that persons saw as a highlight for me. I think when I joined the union, just as most of our teachers, nobody came to me. My principal just began deducting from my salary. No questions asked. I wasn't asked if I wanted to be. I wasn't given a form. Nothing.
You paid union already.
So my payments came out, and I didn't even know. Until afterwards, I knew that, oh well, I was a union member. And so that is how I started. But then I became involved, and I think throughout my high school years, I've always been the person who was always sort of leading, without even recognizing that I was leading. I was house captain, I was volleyball, football, even basketball that I can't play. But basketball captain, I cannot captain, I was in these little groups and things. I was always fighting for my colleagues, when they would. I'm still small, but I was very small. I was short. And I used to sit in my chair in my class, and my hair would touch the floor because my hair was very, very long. And so the boys would pass and tug at my hair. So I was a bit bullied in school. And there was one time when I recall standing by a window looking out to the sea, right? Peter Cleaver looking out to the sea at the time. And this classmate of mine passed by, and he just touched me on my shoulder. And I remember something that my grandmother had told me. She told us when we were growing up that she would know if we had any boyfriend or if we did anything, because if any boys touch us, we would get pregnant. And so we believed that. So when my classmate came to the window and he just put his hands around me and my other friend, it was instant for me, and I just turned around and I gave him one slap across the face, because in my mind, oh gosh, I'm pregnant. No, how will I go home? So things like that people thought, well, she's showed leadership potential, but I didn't, but I didn't know it then. A teacher of mine said, that I was very, he said, upstart. He said, but not upstart as in, being rude to us, but you always spoke up.
Assertive.
Right. And so, again, I didn't look at that then as that kind of thing. But now that I can look back on my life, I can see where throughout my life, I was using those skills and I was showing my leadership capabilities throughout my life. So that would have been how I began. I think when I look back in 2005, I was there again on the front lines. I was a member of the Council of Management, and I was a part of the team that negotiated that 11-point agreement with the government back then. We met with Assad Schuman at the time, so I've been involved in several things before getting to this level of unionism. So, I've always been on the forefront. I've always been on the executive. I've always been there fighting and working. So that's been my life's work.
What can you say is perhaps one or two things that you are extremely proud of with your time as president in BNTU?
When I ran the first time, I ran on a platform of education because I felt that we could have done more in terms of educating our membership and involving them, and getting out to them. And even though I wasn't responsible for that, it was the first vice president, I ensured that those persons knew that, listen, this is what we want to do, this is my vision and I want for you to see if we would accept this vision. And so the team that I worked with endorsed, if you will, and so we embarked on doing those things. So we did a lot of training for our teachers during the 6 years. Teachers had training in not just unionism, but in other aspects that were beneficial to them, especially when COVID came. We had to do training on technology. And so we found ways and means of getting persons to provide them with training. So that was key for me because that was what I wanted to do as a president. And then a second thing that we've done is to look at our internal strengths and weaknesses of the union and see what are the areas that we need to strengthen. And so I realized that we didn't have policies in place. Yes, we knew how certain things would operate, but we didn't have them in policies to say, okay, if this happens, this is what we do. And so we embarked on putting together policies. And so there was a team of persons, who sat and who looked at those and, began to draft those policies. And then, the team would agree on review. And so we have policies in place now. And one of the huge accomplishments that we've done, that we've been trying to do, was to have a database for our membership. So we now have a database and we have a new website that teachers can go in and interact. You can see your loan history, you can see whether your dues money came in, you can see whether your loan came in. We are not fully finished with that program. We bought a program for our loan scheme so that, it would be better, could better manage it, and teachers can get their information, in a much faster way. But we're almost there. And so those are things that I am proud of, that we were able to accomplish.
I know that, and I'm glad you make mention of those things, because oftentimes when the public see you, they see you at the forefront regarding some sort of national issue or an issue affecting teachers or members of the union. But here you speak about strengthening the union internally in terms of education, in terms of the internal policies. These are internal things that people do not get to see, and you're saying these are some of your proudest moments, and that speaks volumes of where your heart really is and where your passion really lies, which is for your people. And while we get to see a lot of the seriousness, the serious face, the serious presentation of Sister Elena Smith, we've also seen some lighter sides of you. Take, for example, that a now infamous video of you dancing punta on the steps of the National Assembly.
Of course, it's she knows.
Right? During your time, were you able to find time to do some of the things you enjoy, to take some of the lighter moments and embrace them?
Oh, wow.
I think it was quite difficult to do that, honestly, in the first years, because here you are, as you said, working to strengthen, because without a strong union, we won't be able to do the things that we are known for. And so a part of being strong is also dealing with our internal matters, strengthening our internal controls, our internal policies, reaching out to membership. I did a lot of school visits. I mean, there are so many things that I'm proud of that you asked for too, so I can't tell you all of them, right? But things like visiting our teachers, which made them feel more a part of the union, and which enabled us to be able to get support when we needed that support. So when you are doing all of those things, when you are going from a meeting to a meeting, when you are traveling out district, and by the time you come back today or tomorrow is another one, you hardly have time to do the things that you do. So for my 6 years, I think I can count on one hand the number of times that I truly, maybe went out and, had
enjoyed yourself.
Right, had some time with my friend. And most times you would see me along with my Bombale, right, Mrs. Morris, who was a teacher at St. Ignatius School. But we've hardly had time for that. On weekends, I try to, to go to the farm and do some little farm work, as I've gotten to that place, right? But there has not been much, because most of our meetings are held on Saturdays. So during the month, we have a meeting on the first Saturday is our BNTU meeting. There's another meeting on the second Saturday. The third one is NTUCB. So it's all the Saturdays are taken up with meetings and and different things. So it has not been easy, and that is why it is important that the president of the union is a full-time president. That is why we agreed, or we met with the government and we said, we want the person to come in full-time. So we have this secondment, because the role of the president is so much that you can't have another job. You will not do justice with having to be the president and having to be in the classroom or doing any other job. So it was important for us to have this full-time presidency. So
is there anything that you wish you had done differently during your presidency, that you feel maybe perhaps you could have reflected on and tried again as you're making your way out?
I think sometimes when you look back at your interactions, or sometimes when you look back at certain plans that you had, you would have wished that you maybe did them earlier, so that it could have had a more lasting effect on people earlier. Sometimes, as I said, sometimes your interactions with people, I will tell you that it's not an easy job to have. And there are times when you are so frustrated because you feel so alone. Because if I go and I share something with you, then it goes from you to Paul and to the other and to the other one. And sometimes you are sharing things with people just to get off of your chest, what it is that you are going through, or how you felt about a situation, or or what a certain comment did or made you feel. And then persons take it the other way, and then it goes. So a lot of times you are left on your own, because you don't know who to share with, or when to share, or what to share, because of how we are sometimes as a people,
It's the arena you are in too.
Right, everything is gossip, and little cliques here and there, and right. You have to look at something as simple as the color that you wear.
Right.
If I go to a meeting and I have on blue, I don't know that PUP.
If you want red?
If I have on red, we no longer hear a UDP. So it's like every little thing. You can't go out and have a drink with your friend, because there's camera. Everybody they watch. If you
drink
try
the
to
margarita,
you understand? You try go to a Lee family function, or maybe a wedding of a family member, so and people are there. You try to do a Lee dance and think everybody they watch you. You can't wear your Lee shirt pants, so you want.
You can't
it's
win.
Like, it's like so. And I don't know if it's for me because of the two positions that I hold, why that happens. So even when I go out, every time I see a flash, I look around to see if it's near me.
But
that's no fun.
I mean, Sister Smith, that's so real and raw, and I love that, because a lot of leaders don't share that. Don't share that one of the challenges of being in public life, and
especially as a
being
female.
A leader.
Because a man can go and sit in any bar that he or she, that he wants, just sit down on the street, sit down and drink, and nobody has nothing to say. No picture they get take, hardly ever. But the moment a female as a leader goes out and sits to have a drink with a colleague, or
she's supposed to work.
You're out to your professional suit and you have on shirt pants. Oh, it's a big. It's like, what? Oh, she did wear shirt pants, and she did a big senator. So these are the kinds of things that come to you, and as females, we have to overcome them. And I am the kind of person that I have a attitude sometimes that you know, matter me and okay. But there are times when deep down you care, and those little things, you know, those little things get to you. So
and I wanted to piggyback on that because you have the support of your union members. In fact, I think there is a large population of Belizeans that support you and see you as an example, as a role model. And I think a lot of people hearing the news, perhaps some for the first time this morning, are saying, man, what we are doing without Sister Elena. But then you also have, on the other hand, those that are breathing a sigh of relief.
Oh, yes.
Yes, finally, she gone.
Okay,
so you do have haters in your arena as well.
But with that said, Paul, as Sister Smith rightfully mentioned, you have to give space for somebody else to take.
No, well, I wanted to ask Sister Smith in terms of your different engagements, and let's say take for example that one time you guys protested for a couple of weeks, and you had all the children out of the classroom for that extended time and all that backlash. We've heard not so nice things about you. How did you navigate that space? One, two, I'm just going to put two questions together. What's your advice for those vying for the position that you held?
Well, when we are in action, you have to expect all the negative things from those who are going to be inconvenienced. But one thing I would like to ask those same persons who had so much to say at that time, how are they feeling now? Because we keep saying when we fight not just for teachers and for raise and things of that sort. We fight for country. So we are now seeing the cost of living. People are crying right now about the cost of living. But when the teachers were out there protesting and saying all of these things, where were you? You were complaining about us blocking the roads because, oh, you can't pass, you can't get to work. You know, just for you to cross the bridge and get into another bus, it was a huge deal. Now you are suffering. If you had stood with us back then, things would have been different now. It would have been much different. So while we hear the complaints sometimes, and we understand the complaints at the time, because you know you are coming to work and you don't expect that you will find that you can't pass on a bridge, or you know you can't get to work, that kind of thing. So it is sometimes, you know, very upsetting. But we have to look at the bigger picture. What is the reason for doing this? Why are the teachers doing this, and how will this impact all of us? Because whatever impacts us impacts everybody else.
Yeah.
We buy for everybody else. We go to a market, we go to a restaurant, we go everywhere. So when we lose, the entire public lose. When we lost about 10% on our increment, you know how many children could not get fed by teachers? Couldn't get uniform, couldn't get school supplies because teachers couldn't have it to do that. So we expect these things, and sometimes people are very rude and rash in their comments, things that they don't even know about you, they're putting out there. You know, you hear about 1,000 man where you got to, you never even know. But this is how things happen. This is how it works. And you have to be strong enough to be able to overcome that. You have to know who you are, and you have to be, I believe, proud in what you are doing to not that affect you as much. I'm not saying it won't, because of course we are humans. And people are saying things, your children are hearing these things, especially when your children hear these things, it hurts you so much more. But I think that I have been so accustomed to it over the years that...
So final question for me, April.
We have to wrap it up. So
just you have three candidates, president candidates. You have Sister Ruth, you have Sister Ifashina, and you have Brother Ray. Who's your favorite?
Why you asking up on TV5?
You know how many teachers have asked me that? And I said to them, you know what? I will remain professional. Because I know that the seat that I hold has tremendous influence on teachers.
Yes.
And a lot of teachers want to know who I am supporting.
Because they want to vote for that person.
And I've said to them, I will not do that. I will not be unfair to the candidates, because I think if I do it, I will be unfair to them. Let them do their campaign, let them go there and let them do their pitch, and you have to pay attention to who is bringing the correct messages. Who is the person coming with truth to you? Because people will lie because they want position. So pay attention to who's telling you the truth. All that glitters isn't gold. So you have to look at every aspect of each candidate for you to determine. You know, look at how they behave. Look at the things that they have done that maybe would have shown you that, you know what, you said this thing this time, but the next time you change your mind. Look at those little things that will help you to determine who would be the best person for the presidency. It's not just the person who can speak better than the other one. It's not the person who may necessarily have you know, the most friends, or the person who may have gone to the most meetings, or none of those. It's several other things added onto that. You have to look at persons who know the union, who love the union with a passion. Because if you have the passion for something, even if you don't have the knowledge, the passion will help you to want to gain the knowledge to do a good job. And so I want to say to our teachers, you know, evaluate the candidates, and you know,
all three.
Look at them for who they are, for what they present, you know, for what they can bring to the table, and then you make a determination. I will vote. I have a right to vote.
Yes, she does.
And I will select
you
who I
still
believe
are a member
is the
of
best.
the union
Right.
after you leave, yeah.
Right. So on the 12th and 13th, I am telling them, come out. You know, come to Orange Walk Mufflers College and take part in all of the other activities of the union, resolutions, reporting, financial report, our audited statements, and then in the election of our members. And please, members, I'm asking that we, you know, keep it clean, keep it professional. You know, we want to always remain professional as best as we can, and we can only do that if our members do that.
And our final question from our audience: where does President Senator Elena Smith go after she's out of her seat? Where does she go next?
Well, Paul said earlier, you know, some people might happy that you're going and some are sad that you're going, and that is true.
Yeah.
You have the few who thank God, she take too long to go, can't wait for June come. And you have those others who know, President, please stay, man, please, you know, we want you around. I gladly will return to my classroom.
Okay.
I have always loved being a teacher. I look forward to seeing I don't know where I'm going to be placed.
Okay.
When I left, I was doing a reading program. So I don't know if I will go there, but I've always been an infant teacher. Okay. So it is my hope that I can go back to my babies and I can do what I love doing. Most. You know, what made me able to get this position was me being a teacher and my love of teaching. So we'll see how that goes.
PG for you, Senator.
Yeah, PG. Here I'm at home. But Senator, thank you so much for coming here, talking to us about your journey. Best of luck with your future endeavors, and best of luck with the new president of the BNTU.
Yes, we wish them all the best.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
And with that, we are going to go to a little bit of a flashback haul. Yes, you know, it is Easter. It is Easter season. Last year we made hot cross buns with Einer, but somebody else made hot cross buns in 2008.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So let's check that flashback footage of 2008 at the Red Cross. A very familiar face and what she did there.
The Easter season is upon us, and of course, one of the staples for this particular season is the hot cross bun. So to get a recipe for this year, I'm here in the Belize Red Cross kitchen, where I'm joined by some volunteers who are preparing buns for sale. Jessie Young is going to talk us through the process, and Jessie, of course, you're a volunteer here. Tell us where you're from.
I'm from the village of Bermudian Landing in the Belize River Valley, and I have been making cross bun ever since I was 9 years old. Okay, this is the start of it. It's like 6 pounds of flour. We have like half a pound of shortening, a half a pound of butter. We have nutmeg, cinnamon, raisin, and coconut powder in here.
This is how you would do it at home?
Yes, this is how we do it at home. Only at home we did the coconut. We grate it and use that milk, but today we use the powder. It's just as good, I think.
I have already put the coconut milk, the nutmeg, the cinnamon, butters, and lard, which is, we wouldn't say lard shortening. Okay. And this is the mix in here with the vanilla. As you know, we have to put the vanilla in the water so that whenever we mix the flour, we get all the ingredients in the flour so that it's tastable.
Okay.
So we will start to do the mix. Stir like this. All the ingredients get together in the flour. If you do it in a bowl, it's not will be the same because the bowl is too wide. So you need something like this that hold the ingredients together so that whenever you mix, everything get in the flour. We don't want some of the flour get some of the ingredients and then the other don't get.
So here is what it looks like when you finish mixing it all up, and then you have to really knead this, and so that it gets real soft and smooth and tender. And the more you knead it, you can flip it. Yes, you can do all that to make it rise
They do acrobatics
faster,
now.
Sometimes I like to just to make it rise faster.
And to relieve some stress.
Yes. And then you can pretend you're hitting somebody, After that, then you start to, you can cut little pieces of the same sizes off like this. And then you start to roll it out like that. And then you make this like that. And then here what we do another little piece like that. And then we make this for the cross.
I was just going to say, I know what that's for.
Okay, so we'll put this here like that. And we put this here like that. And that's it.
And there you have your hot cross bun.
This is
not quite ready yet.
Not quite ready because it has to be baked.
Yeah.
The rising all depends on how you like your bun. If you like it with a lot of sugar, it takes longer to rise. But if you just want it sweet, not too sweet, then it takes like half an hour to rise. What we do, we put the dough in a piece of the dough in some water, and when it rises to the top, that tells you that the bun is ready to be baked.
Really?
Yes. So this is the dough in there. It's already on the top, so it's ready. So now this is ready to be baked, and you will bake this at like 250 degrees for like half an hour.
Jessie come and tell me, say, girl, it's much easier to just do the cross. But I say, this is the old tradition way that we used to from Grandma Day. This is the way she teaches us how to do the cross. So I say, well, nothing wrong to do what you show me. I say, I'm never too old to learn. Just say, this is much easier. Because then you are done roll off this, then you have to go and roll off this little piece. So it's much easier. So the girl look at me and they do nothing like that again. I will do the easier way.
So you learned something new.
I learned something new.
Then you have your perfect hot cross bun.
Your perfect hot cross bun. You can eat it with butter when it's hot. It's really good with ham, cheese, whatever you want to put on there. It's all ready. You could even eat it just like that. It tastes so good. Finger licking.
The last time we visited Miss Francesca Howers was to deliver the exciting news that she was chosen to receive a home sponsored by SMART for its 18th anniversary through the Hand in Hand Ministries housing program. Since then, she has actively been participating in attending Saturday sessions to improve her life skills, cleared her property for its foundation and construction of her home, and has assisted in the construction of a home for another recipient of Hand in Hand housing program. All these activities are to foster a more responsible, responsive citizen in our community.
Your life just got a lot less complicated with Belize Bank contactless MasterCard debit card. Introducing our standard debit and MasterCard Platinum debit cards. Now you can make purchases anywhere MasterCard is accepted with one tap, pay and go. Your contactless card never has to leave your hands, especially in these times. And your card is embedded with multiple layers of security. Platinum card holders get to enjoy extra benefits like price protection, purchase protection, trip inconvenience, and luggage protection, just to name a few. Start enjoying a cashless lifestyle today with the Belize Bank.
Messi! Off goal! What a goal from Leo Messi! What an incredible strike from Leo Messi! Neymar and Messi standing over this. Messi! Off goal! What a goal from Leo
Great entertainment stays with you, and we bring you great entertainment. Next Gen, the ultimate digital experience.
And welcome back as we wrap up our Monday morning show, Paul. We had two lovely. I know you came in a little bit afterwards.
Yeah, but that's okay.
You were here to enjoy the
I
wonderful
thoroughly
conversations.
enjoyed both conversations.
Right. We began with Orinko, and I really think that we needed more time with that conversation. When you're talking about insurance and particularly motor and life insurance, perhaps maybe next time we can get Orinko and transport to come, and we have a whole segment on safety, because lately, honestly, fires, motor accidents, and so forth, these are things that are happening to us on a daily basis.
But I'm sure our viewers, they appreciated
of course
the bit of information and insight that we were able to provide for them this morning.
And of course, we wrapped up our show with the Senator President of the BNTU, Sister Elena Smith, as she gave us a little bit of a history of her time at the BNTU and her plans for now that she's moving out of her seat, and of course, a little bit of advice for the future president of the BNTU.
She's saying I have a favorite, but
you don't believe, Andrew?
We are dispute that in the news.
But of course, we want to thank you, our viewers, for tuning in every single day, because without you, we would not be here. But we have a birthday shout out. No, actually, we have a couple birthday shout outs, and we would like to start off by saying happy birthday to Annie Dominguez from your friends and family. Happy birthday to you, Annie. We hope you have a wonderful day. I love that eyeshadow on you, girl. It's a great photo. Lovely. I like the purple. It's popping.
We have a second birthday shout out, and I hope I pronounced the first name correct.
Okay.
I think it's Adrienne
Mm-hmm.
Habet. And so from your loving, sometimes sweet family, and we'd like to wish you a splendid happy birthday. I hope you have a great one.
And of course, happy birthday to both of you ladies, from all of us here at OIE and Channel 5. And if it's your birthday today, happy birthday to you. And if you have a birthday shout out or just a question or comment, you can always drop us a line right here at oie@channel5belize.com. You can catch our live stream on Facebook every day at Open Your Eyes BZ on Facebook, and our highlights on Instagram at OIE. And of course, you can tune in again tomorrow when you open your eyes.
And start your morning right.
Be sure to keep your eyes, your mind,
and your hearts open.
Have a blessed day, Belize. Drink some water. It's going to be really, really hot today. So take care of yourself. Bye.
Peace.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.